Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the endless propaganda that's coming out from pretty much all Western governments at the moment, saying that there's a chronic shortage of skilled workers in the West, and wouldn't you know it, the only solution is to have mass immigration from low IQ brown and black peasant basket case country. Somehow that's going to fix it all. Well, let's look at the top 10 categories of technical skills that are supposedly exist, and the list for Australia is pretty similar to what it is in the rest of the world. So if we look at that list, and I've picked the top five, and now these are supposed to be chronic shortages. It's meant to be just vacancies in the hundreds of thousands for these jobs as we speak today. And now, I think this is all invented and created. I think it's all propaganda. I don't think there is any shortage here. But let's test it. Let's assume there is for the moment. Let's test it. So the best way to do that is to create a phantom sort of resume CV, and to send it off. Now, just to give a sort of a good average that's more than 100. The idea is if there is a chronic shortage, and I picked the adverts that had been on the internet job boards for the longest. So anything that had just been placed, it didn't put, so it had to be on there for 3 weeks or longer. Now, some have been on for months, and I doubt they're valid, but nonetheless, so picking 160, and these are the higher income ones in that category. So creating a phantom CV that 100% matches all the criteria listed in the adverts, and send it off. So it's not that hard. Now, the idea is that if there is a shortage and 160 CVs go out for 160 jobs, you'd expect, you'd expect at least a quarter or a third or even a half, given that it's supposed to be a desperate shortage. Companies are literally crying into their coffee cups, wanting people to fill these roles. Just can't get them. They're advertising, they're trying, they're doing everything. They're just not there, these people. We've got to bring them in from Haiti or somewhere where the average IQ is 88 or something. We've got to. That's the only solution, which makes it a dubious proposition to begin with. But again, let's just assume it is the case. So you send off these CVs now in all these categories. The highest response we got was 1.5%. So that gives you an idea as to how, if there is a desperate need, you'd at least expect phone calls or further inquiry, or tell us more. Are you available for a telephone interview or something like that? So you'd at least expect that type of response. And they usually send the juniors out to do that sort of work, but nothing. And the ones that did respond just wanted to do an online an online suitability sort of psych evaluation type thing. So which is all done online. You don't interact with anybody. So that was the response. So not one of them came back with anything that would even remotely resemble. In fact, on a statistical basis, 1% is what you'd expect almost in anything, and in a response terms. And so this was statistically no bigger than what you would say would be an absolute minimal response. So if there is any shortage of skills, then it's certainly not there. There's a few other sort of concerns. Are that the companies that are particularly crying poor have lots of adverts out in this one category. So they're browbeating the governments and the politicians to say, you got to let us bring in shitloads of people, yet those organizations, there was no response at all. So the organizations are saying that their need is the most desperate are the ones that weren't responding. So you'd think they would at least respond or you'd have some response from them, but nothing. So pretty clearly there is no shortage in these areas. They're making no effort to train and develop and bring local people through the ranks, picking people who are showing real promise and aptitude and keenness and saying, okay, well, we'll train you and you'll be a quick study. There's no effort at that at all. And I don't believe that these skilled jobs, that there are oodles of skilled people are going to come from these dirt poor countries. What sort of expertise are they going to have? They've got degrees at universities where the more well-to-do just purchase them. They've got no qualifications or credentials, and if anything, they work in some monopoly, family-owned business that is so corrupt that they don't learn a thing anyway. So what use are they going to be? So clearly, there is no shortage. If there is, then these organisations that are crying poor are doing nothing to address this so-called skills shortage. So my assessment on this is that there is no skill shortage, and they're just trying to use this as an excuse, this alleged shortage. They're just inventing it. Like invented cases of racism and so on. They're just inventing this shortage just to be able to bring in some more cheap peasant labour, and that's all it is. There's no actual shortage of skills at all. And even if there was, it's nothing that couldn't be dealt with through a bit of earnest and focused local training and so on. So that's my take on it. You've been with Tastus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.